Well, we talked about the champions, Manchester City, and the run that they've been on, the problems that they potentially have. But leading the way at the moment are Liverpool. They are 8 points clear at this stage of the season. Anyone who's been this stage or better, and that's only happened once before by 1 point when Manchester United did it, has gone on to win the title. And yet, nobody, I don't think, is going to sit here and say, this is definitely going to happen. Because you look at the performance against Southampton, and you think,
yeah, but I think, but you saw certain things happening in the way that Liverpool giving the ball away, even Virgil van Dijk back-heeling that one when they went and got the penalty. They won't do that in those games. Maybe that was a wake-up call game for them to, like, listen, Southampton are bottom of the league, but if you do that, you're going to get punished, and that is why the league is so competitive. And there was at no stage in that game where I thought Southampton were going to win this game. I did not think that because of the way
they were 2-1 up.
Nope.
Yeah, but you know, Southampton this year, they go ahead, they concede, they lose.
The way they're playing, and you know that Liverpool, once it clicks in that, listen, man, let's get going. This is Southampton. I didn't think they were going to lose that, and plus, they've got their X factor in Mo Salah. It's just going to come up with it.
You say that. Liverpool have dropped points on the road against the last 4 teams who've come up through the playoffs. Liverpool's record against promoted teams away from home is not good at all over the last few years. So there was more jeopardy than maybe you would imagine when the team top of the table faces the team bottom of the table.
I still didn't think Liverpool were going to lose that game. I mean, obviously Southampton were playing out of the back and it was catastrophic. And I know Russell Martin quite well and he's a top guy, but at this moment in time, he even said himself, I need to take responsibility for this because every team wants to play out from the back. But if you don't have it in your armour and in your locker, then you can't do that. I'm not saying go route one and just boot it, but you're playing into their hands. I think with this Liverpool team, I think Gravenberch has been unbelievable. Szoboszlai, you know, those types of players. But Mo Salah, I mean, it doesn't matter what team you support. The quality that guy has is on a different level consistently every single season to reach the numbers that he does for this Liverpool team. And I still don't think people really give him the credit and respect that he fully deserves. I really don't. And like I said, it don't matter what team you support. We're talking elite. Always finds a way.
For you, Leanne, is it as much... Yes, it's what he can do, but there are a lot of players who are capable of doing what Mohamed Salah can do at times. But is it how and when he does that? Like the significance of the goals that he scores, the moments that he chooses to kind of show his best game.
I mean, the best players in the world and elite players step up when the team really needs them. And I think Mo Salah is one of those players you can always rely on in the big moments. His touch, the way he manipulates the ball, the way he moves his body, he kind of can be quiet in games at times. And then when he gets the ball, he's efficient.
Yeah.
What's the latest on the contract chat, Aaron? as our man from the gentleman from the press.
I love the way Mo's come out with what he's saying. Put it out there. Let the fans see what's going on. Don't let the club hide in the shadows and try and do this. You know what I mean? He looks like somebody that...
So what he's said is there is no contract offered. Yeah. That doesn't mean they're not talking. It's just there isn't a kind of, you know...
Yeah, but what's interesting is more that he's actually come out and said it. He said it to one of our colleagues at NBC and basically said that at the moment, to use his words, he's more out than in, which is a phrase I think you might see across the UK papers tomorrow and maybe even beyond. And it might even prick up a few years across the continent, even though I don't think there is anywhere better to go than Liverpool, the Premier League. I mean, this is the most competitive league in the world, which is, given what we've been talking about with the game against, you know, first against worst. And I think at the same time, it's still been a compelling contest. So I think he wants to stay, but I think it's going to...
He wants to know what's going on.
Well, he wants 3 years. They want to give him 2. You can understand why. There's a long history of players in the Premier League who are coming to the end of their contracts. They're over 30. You give them big money, suddenly they drop off. And that money, you know that from Ozil and Aubameyang at Arsenal.
Yeah, but the thing is, we're talking about Mo Salah. Mo Salah don't miss games. He's not that kind of player.
I mean, look at him. The way he keeps himself in shape.
The way he is as a man, he's not somebody that is going to sign a contract and clock off. If there's anyone who's over 30 that I'm going to give a 3-year deal to, it's going to be Mo Salah.
I totally agree. I think the way he lives his life...
I think this is why, for him to come out and say it like that, he's putting it firmly in their court. Where, you going to back me or not?
I don't think they'll like that, though, will they, the club? The club won't be liking this.
But he is in... you've just been saying yourself about the quality, the numbers, the goals, the assists, all the reasons why he is in a really good place to be able to say that, because if they don't want to give him that length of contract, there are other clubs who will.
You know something?
So here's I was going to say, here's the question, because the three big ones, Mo Salah, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Virgil van Dijk, all at different stages of their career, probably will make different decisions at the end of the season when they're all out of contract. But particularly with Mo Salah, I'd used this phrase earlier, but if he's more out than in, is there a chance that this could be a legacy season for him, that he wants to go out on an absolute high, that he will... Look, he's not a player who ever gives less than 100% anyway, but I don't know, might you just get a little bit more juice out of that lemon?
Why can't it be...
Because it's his legacy. No, but...
Why can't it be a legacy season and they give him, they offer him a free deal?
No, but that might yet happen. But what I mean is for him, just from him, psychologically, is that something that can...
I think he's still doing what he's done every single season. I don't think he's doing, all of a sudden, way more than he did last year or the year before. I think this is what he's done in the Premier League.
I think he's going to easily go down top 5 players in Liverpool's history. He's got 20 goals behind Andy Cole to go 4th in the Premier League. I think that those things matter to him.
Yeah.
I think those things matter to him. Yeah, those things matter to him. So I feel, for me, if I was a Liverpool fan, I'd be very worried that they have not offered him anything up to this point. He's not spoken to anyone. We're coming into December.
He didn't say he's not spoken to anyone. He said he doesn't have an...
He doesn't...
You've got the word.
Yeah. What is the wording? Has he got a contract?
He doesn't have a contract.
Well, that's enough for me. He's not spoken to... What else are you going to speak about? If you've got a contract, that's what you're going to speak about. He hasn't got one offered to him. There are conversations that happen before a contract is on the table.
And you become aware.
You have conversations and you say, well, can we push this?
But look how
and then you get
look how Mo started the season. Look at Liverpool started the season.
And that contract should be on the table,
should be
signed already.
So as players, would you start looking at other clubs?
It's really tough because, if it was me and I was doing what Mo is doing at Liverpool, doing it at Arsenal, but you're coming to that end, there's people that are offering you, it's happening.
Already? But they're not allowed to.
But they're not allowed to.
You're joking.
Righty.
I know. But the thing is, that those things are happening. And I think that it's probably... You know what? I'll just throw this out there. It's probably happening and Mo's saying, listen, you lot ain't offering me nothing and I'm hearing things.
Yeah.
There's rumours. Somebody's representatives have been talking to my representatives, which is not necessarily a direct conversation with anybody.
With anybody.
Do not want to accuse anybody of that.
Get it done, Liverpool.
Other than our Peabody, touting himself for a Peabody in the corner, investigative journalist Darren Lewis, uncovering this gap. But look, it's in a great position. They're 8 points clear at this stage of the season.
Liverpool's to lose.
With a lot of at this point,
pressure on Liverpool.
Can I just put, for all the talk about Salah, and you're absolutely right to rave about him, but actually, it's that defence. It's the best in the Premier League so far. It's Van Dijk is back to being Van Dijk. The protection for that defence has been first class as well. The goals from midfield as well, other players popping up.
Curtis Jones.
It's exactly. Curtis Jones has been outstanding. Kelleher deputising for Alisson has been outstanding as well.
Not enough said about that with Alisson.
Absolutely.
Not enough said.
I think there's a real balance throughout the side which gives Liverpool those options, and I think... that's a big part of the reason why.
I think Virgil will still be there, though. We talk about the 3 players you said, Kel. Like, Trent, I think, is the one that everybody's thinking won't be there. I think Mo Salah and Virgil van Dijk will be there next year. I just have a feeling. I don't want to see... No matter what team you support, you want to see the best players in the Premier League, and I don't want to see Mo Salah.
Arsenal fans want to see Martin Odegaard back at full fitness, and now they are seeing Martin Odegaard back at full fitness, and everything is knitting together for Arsenal. They are back.
That's what happens when you have such an influential player who's out. You can see how it energises and gives it just revitalises the whole team. Arsenal weren't a million miles away from what they were trying to do when he wasn't there, but with him not being there, you can see how it all falls down. He's invaluable to us. I think you could see that with the way we played. I thought it was a fantastic performance from Arsenal in the way that we know that Forest, they went to Liverpool, only team that's beaten them, and it's going to be a tough game, but I thought Arsenal from start to finish, the way they control that game, especially with Odegaard in the team, it was really a good performance. And again, just one that they had to win. I thought it was a must-win, especially when we knew who Liverpool had, and I knew they were going to beat them. Didn't see the City one coming, but the fact is Arsenal did the business, and it was very professional.
Does it remind you of Bergkamp? Is he as important to the side as Bergkamp was to Arsenal?
I think so, and I think that you could see that in the way he was just everywhere, and the passes through the lines, and then when he came off, And again, Arsenal took a big chance on getting rid of Emile Smith-Rowe and Vieira as number 10s because they've said 1 year he's ready. And they've taken him out, and 1 year he's come on, and yes, he scored his goal, but he looks the same. He's taken up the same positions. So hopefully that is something that will continue to happen, and he can get more important games. But when you look at how solid it is at the back, the midfield's looking good. Obviously, Thomas Partey coming in and scoring that goal is brilliant. But I just think up front, Saka is, like I say, I mentioned Savinho at City. If Saka went games playing like 15 games, he's gone nothing from Savinho. Saka, if he goes 25 minutes, it's a massive story.
Yeah.
The way he does not get the credit for what he does. He is fantastic for us, and he's fantastic again the other day.
I mean, that goal that he scored, I mean, I think Martin Odegaard and Hair telepathy they have between each other, I think is on a different level.
Yeah.
And they do say the best players find each other, but they just seem to find each other all the time. It's funny you should bring up Dennis Bergkamp and Martin Odegaard, because my dad called me a couple of years ago. He's a gooner, as you know. And he said to me, darling, I think we found the closest thing to Dennis Bergkamp. And I was like, yeah, all right, Dad. Dennis Bergkamp is my idol ever. And I see where my dad's coming from. My dad knows football, but it's true, like the touch, the manipulation. And I think with Martin Odegaard, when you watch him live, similar to Dennis Bergkamp, I used to go to Highbury just to watch him warm up. Like, you have this feeling, the way they manipulate the ball, they always know. They're like 3 or 4 steps ahead. Not just 2 or 3 passes ahead. Like, we're talking 3 or 4. You know, Martin Odegaard's preparation touch, his ability to have his head up, you know, be able to see 3 angles of the pitch at all times. Like, he's on a different level.
Did you, once you finished the warm-up, did you just leave?
After, when you were there, yeah. When you were there, yeah. No, but, you know, there's some players, you know, they're special players.
He's special. I'd probably put Pogba in there. I'd put Mesut Ozil in there. Put Odegaard in there. If you can have an isolated camera, it's a beautiful thing to watch. Obviously, Zidane, the ultimate, but be unbelievable player to watch in the way that he manipulates the ball and gets other players moving.
Right, come on then.
Contract situation.
Who's the most likely
to leave?
To win it.
Okay, sorry.
I want to leave on a high. I would like to end on a little positive note.
It's very finely poised. Liverpool know how to navigate this season from here. Arsenal are still trying to chase. City have got a lot of work.
Are you looking at Liverpool and thinking they've got a wobble? They've not had a wobble yet.
They're going to have to have one. We've seen that Southampton caused them a little bit of problems, but they still got the job done because our poor Southampton weren't still playing out the back. I can't see it. But
City and mid-wobble.
Mid-wobble. And I think Arsenal now can't afford to lose too many more.
Have Arsenal come out the other end of their wobble?
I think so, now.
It's ironic, actually, because Arsenal have got the most depth in defence, depth in attack and midfield. I think Liverpool, if they lose players, they've still got players who can deputise for them. They look stronger. I'm going to go with Liverpool still.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I also still think, I don't know, there's this weird feeling about City. I just don't think you can ever... This game next weekend is massive. Yeah. No. Liverpool City is massive. You don't think City at all?
I'm not going to go with City in the current club. No, but right now, in the moment.
Right now, but
in the moment,
the season
I'm probably going to have to go Liverpool.
But if they win heavily at Anfield next weekend, we'll be back here on Monday morning.
Saying they're going to go on one of those runs.
They just look like the City of old.
No,
City are back.
As we speak, I'm going to go Liverpool with Arsenal chasing.
All right. We will be back the same time next Monday. The other big story, as we've alluded to, was that victory for Tottenham against Manchester City. And I don't think... Tottenham have a way of playing that is targeted, actually, to exactly where Manchester City's weaknesses are. Where Manchester City have been most vulnerable this season is where Tottenham have been at their best. Even with that, you look at Tottenham's away record, you look at Manchester City's record at the Etihad, you look at the fact they'd lost their previous 4, so obviously that has to turn around. And nobody, I think, could have plucked that 4-0 scoreline out the air.
Not 4, but you know that Tottenham have recently... being able to beat them and cause them problems, whether it's at White Hart Lane or the Etihad. People talking about... They cannot continue talking about Rodri and they cannot continue talking about things that they don't speak like critiquing the recruitment at City. They've got it wrong. You know, you look at even Savinho, you know, it's 15 games, he hasn't scored. The form of Foden... When you need a backup centre, you know, a backup to De Bruyne, you need a backup to Rodri, you need a backup to Erling Haaland, which they sold in Alvarez, a team that's aging. Now is the time where you look at them and say, well, recruitment's gone wrong somewhere along the line, massively, because whereas Tottenham had 4 or 5 players missing. Bentancur, Van der Ven, Richarlison, you know, Romero, and then they had 2 teenagers. They had teenagers on the bench. So Tottenham are going there after losing to Ipswich, and you're thinking, whoa, what can this be? But then they sucked them in so beautifully. And remember, they're playing with Dragerson and Davis, a left-back. And
they were brilliant as well.
Very, very good. But they did not, like Ange Postecoglou said, they didn't get afraid of what they had to do because they had to play through the press to get it to people like Maddison, for them to then get it to Kulusevski and Son and that. It was brilliant from Tottenham. And against the City side, that at the moment, there's, you know, they're starting to look their age. They're starting to look how we perceive them now. We're
9
seeing
of the
them.
14 players that they use were 29 or over. De Bruyne looks like he's feeling his age. I think Haaland...
But yes, but they're only a year older than they were this time last year.
Yeah, but
the other
in the case of De
coming.
Bruyne, for example, De Bruyne's had so many injury problems that you can be 33 and be Mohamed Salah, who's in peak physical condition, or you can be 34 and be De Bruyne, who's just having little knocks and niggles and not having the kind of flow that he did have. I mean, you're right to say it's only a year on, but I less have a problem with the recruitment than I do with the fact that they bought in the summer really with a belief in the squad that they've already got. And I wonder if now that squad needs to be dismantled. And I think in the summer, or even in January, we'll see 1 or 2 players. I think we'll see Zubimendi maybe come in January, who would fill that role that he filled for Rodri in the European Championship final for Spain against England. And then I think we'll see other players come in the summer as well.
Maybe that's why he's signed.
But my concern for me, and I love Kyle Walker, but he doesn't look himself either. I mean, Timo Werner went past him. Kyle Walker very rarely gets beat 1v1. Going up against Timo Werner, I know Timo Werner was fresh coming into the game, but bringing back Gondogan, like those types of players, you know, and I feel like the certain players they let move on, they never really replaced them. Pep Guardiola, to me, doesn't look panicked, you know, and he's usually pre-match interviews, he's quite stern, isn't he? He doesn't really give much. After the game, he's coming up and he's fronting, and he's not really saying, he doesn't look panicked to me, but I think to like what Wright said, like Kevin De Bruyne, you know, he doesn't look himself. And you're right, Kel. You know, it's not even been that long since they were amazing. And they are an incredible side. But it's the first time. Pep's never had this in his whole career.
No.
5 games in a row. Now, I think, obviously, next weekend's game is going to be massive against Liverpool because that's when you'll start to see. You know, no one's ever heard of Manchester City losing games in this way because I think we all expected them to just find a way, didn't we? You know, they lose 3, OK. Every team loses.
Teams have found a way to play them now. And they're not as dynamic as they were. You know what I mean? Again, I still go back to, it cannot just all be on, with a team of that stature, with a manager of that stature, with what they've done. Once Rodri's got, they should have cover. They've got to, you've got to look at that and say, they've got that wrong, Kels.
Well, Kovacic is now
injured as well. They're going to struggle to get sympathy, aren't they?
Of course they are.
That's bang on.
Absolutely,
that's bang on.
Absolutely, because you look at them now and you think, yeah, 5 games on the spin, now we're starting to see some. You're saying that Pep's not panicking. And, you know, he's doing well to not show it, but 5 games on the spin that he's lost. No, has that ever happened before with him? No. He's going to have to start at some stage to try to find out.
Because there's certain players like Kulusevski, I think, has been their best player this year. And I think when these things happen, when we see this massive shock result, in the way that it happened in the magnitude, it's often you focus on what City wasn't doing.
Yeah.
But I think Tottenham were incredible. They're also a strange team, Tottenham, aren't they? They lose the games that they're supposed to win.
They lost against Ipswich.
Yeah, and then they win these games. But at the Etihad, their record's unbelievable.
But what you've got to understand with Postecoglou and what he's trying to do, he's trying to instill something in them, what they believe in and continue to do, even when it's going wrong. Like he's played, again, Davis and Dragusin at centre-back, knowing that how strong City can be down there, but they're still trying to play it through. You've got to get that done, and you've got to test yourself against the best. I heard James Maddison saying it, and Kulusevski. So as you can say, yes, we can do it against them, we can do it against everybody. I can see Tottenham getting maybe a more consistent run because he's going to start bringing players in. They're going to get more consistent with what they're doing, and they're going to do that to a lot more teams.
And they are fun to watch, Tottenham.
Yeah,
unless you're a Tottenham fan and you watch maybe the defeat by Ipswich and the other teams that they've lost to so far this season, where you think, what on earth's gone wrong? But when it goes right, they are.
It goes very right.
I'm happy for Maddison as well because he, you know, after his injury, he didn't have the best of times, getting subbed the other week at half-time. You know, it looked like Basuma and Sarr were going to be those 2 in there, and he had a brilliant game on his birthday, scoring 2 unbelievable goals.
The manager's really used him well in the way he's got him motivated to play in those games.
But you mentioned it as well, Leanne. That game now between Liverpool and Manchester City next weekend is huge, particularly with the gap at the top of the table being 8 points as things stand. And Pep Guardiola was asked what he thought defeat for City next week might mean.
To lose at Anfield next weekend, that could be an 11-point gap to Liverpool. Would that be too much?
Yeah. In the terms of Liverpool is winning, it's true. Yeah.
So that would be the title gone already?
I don't know. But what I said before, it's not thinking about we are going to win or going to lose. To think to win the next game. We are not, I think maybe the expectations are so high, but we are not ready in that situation to think what is going to happen at the end of the season. And at the end, if we don't win, it's because we don't deserve it.
As you said, Leanne, he's quite relaxed, Pep Guardiola, but usually after a defeat, he comes out and talks about how well his team played, how good they were, how he was proud of them.
I love these guys.
That's what he normally does, but this time around, he is actually being critical of them, critical of their performance, and saying, look, we need to find something here. We need to do something. It's a change of tone for him.
Yeah.
A change of words, maybe, and not a change of tone.
I mean, what he's established himself is as a master of the right words to say in the right occasion. And it was quite interesting looking at that footage, because obviously when you're in a press conference as a reporter and you ask the manager, you know, is it going to be beyond you? Generally, you expect them to say, no, we can still do it. It's actually, yes.
He said no.
It's all over.
Yeah.
But I think his great strength is being able to articulate the picture as it is, so that the players are left in no doubt about where they are. If they can't turn it around, they won't be there anymore. Yeah. And I do expect him to be quite brutal. I remember in 2022, people suggested he wouldn't sign a new deal and he couldn't rebuild a side like Sir Alex Ferguson used to. And he proved that he could do that. Yeah. And he proved that he could bring through young players from the academy that could be exceptional. They've come back from big points differentials. I remember it was 10 points in 2018-19. That they came
not
back
at
from.
this stage.
Exactly.
So that's what's interesting about this. So Manchester United have been 9 points clear in the Premier League era. There've been two other things. I think Liverpool and City actually are the two other times teams have been 8 points clear, and they've all gone on to win it. So now the question is, obviously Liverpool are in pole position, but does this mean that Liverpool are going to go on to win it? And maybe the question isn't, are City capable, particularly if they bring in reinforcements in January, of going on a long winning streak that can get them back in contention? But maybe the question is, do Arsenal and Liverpool have it in them to falter, to go on a run that, for example, City have been... I know it's 5 games in a row that they've lost, but it's 3 Premier League games in a row. So a City, a Liverpool and Arsenal capable of doing that at some stage to let City back in?
I think the season started brilliantly for Liverpool and they took full advantage of it. People talking about how easy it is to start. It's not easy to start. You have to make it easy. If you're supposed to be able to beat those teams, then you beat them. And Liverpool's done that apart from Forest. And they were under the radar until they started to really... Their heads started to go. Fact is that they were under the radar, so they got on with it. Arsenal now need to kind of go on a run like that. Liverpool are very much the favourites now. Liverpool know that they can probably draw that game. But the games that they're going to have to win, obviously, they're home games. And then they're going to have to make sure that they don't lose. And then it's Liverpool's to win. But then it's everything that comes in between those things. You know, Mo Salah and what's going on with Mo. Will that derail? What's going to happen with that?
Or is he playing a legacy season?
He could be playing a legacy season. It'd be brilliant for him, whatever happens. But the fact is, I'm pleased that Arsenal now are not in that limelight to have that pressure. It's Liverpool who know how to deal with it.
And I think that's interesting. They've gone from being a team who was supposed to be in transition this season to now a team who are in contention this season. And I just wonder about, as you said, there are a lot of players in there who have won the title with them before, so they know what this is. But there are also players in there who haven't done that as a collective. And I just wonder about that shift in mentality from kind of challengers to contenders.
But I was saying to you before, Kels, like, I feel like Jurgen Klopp must be watching this Premier League season thinking, what is going on? Because I feel like they're almost, Man City are gifting it to Arsenal, Liverpool. It's like, are Liverpool playing well? Yeah. Are Arsenal playing well? OK. But I think Manchester City are nowhere near the levels they have been. Arne Slot's done an incredible job so far. But I do think, you know, there's always that link around Arsenal with pressure. When it comes down to it, you know, missing out when they said, oh, you know, when Arsenal went out the Europa League, they'll go on to win the league. It didn't work. So there's a mentality problem there for me at that club. And I want them to do well. I spent 12 amazing years at that club. So I think, you know, the way that Manchester City, I don't think anybody saw this coming, but they do have the quality. They still have the quality, but they need to find a way.
Yeah, but then what's happened is that people have seen that they're capable of getting their nose bled. It's like you can hurt City. I think what we saw with Tottenham, and I keep saying about the 2 central defenders, who I thought was going to be under amazing pressure, immense pressure, it didn't happen. They were still able to play out under City's press, which wasn't as intense as it should be. Other teams will see that. And what is so ruthless about the Premier League is that people are watching everything, and they will see that with City. And then all that happens is you keep them under pressure, you break a couple of times against you, nick a goal. City are in that place again. Do not be surprised to see more of this happening to City.
I'm just surprised that without Rodri, they don't have the leadership, they don't have that protection for the back four, they don't have that player who's going to get the key goal to get them going again. He provided so much. The numbers, I think you've done the numbers already. They've only lost 2 out of 78 games when he's not played. And that tells you a lot about his impact. And I was thinking to myself, well, can it really be that one man has that transformative an effect? But then you take Virgil van Dijk out of Liverpool, as he was after the Merseyside derby. Exactly. Odegaard from Arsenal. There are so many examples of individual players who have a huge impact on their teams.
As well.
It's also injuries, and so yes, Rodri goes, but then they have injuries in defence. So then you haven't got the cover and you haven't got the regular. Similarly with the Van Dijk missing season at Liverpool, they then had injuries to central defenders. Then they had to put Jordan Henderson into. So then they lose him from midfield. It's the knock-on effect rather than the
and I think for City, you know, they've got no backup striker because they've sold Alvarez. They've got no backup central defensive midfielder because even Kovacic isn't available, as you were saying. So, stripped of all of those options, suddenly they look defenceless, and that's why so many teams now have confidence going to the Etihad. And whereas before, all the games had lost 4 different competitions all the way from home, this one is at home where they've been invincible for 2 years, and suddenly they do look beatable.
And it was a proper beating. Let's just put it out there for the Spurs fans.